Namaskaram. Today we will be going to discuss about the phases of the Indian national movement. Famous historian Dr. Ramesh Chandra, he has tried to classify the Indian national movement into three phases. Right. So let us look at that. Ramesh Chandra, he has tried to classify the Indian national movement into three phases. The first one is the moderate phase, which ranged from 1885 to 1905. The second phase is extremist phase. Do not get yourself confused with the extremist phase with that of the revolutionary terrorism, which is also an important phase in the Indian national movement, which we'll be discussing it at some other point of time, which ranges from 1906 to 1920. The third phase is Gandhian phase. The other name for the Gandhian phase is non-violent phase. Okay, remember Gandhian phase as non-violent phase. So the moderates generally, these people they have venerated the Indian National Congress. Immediately after the 1857 revolt, the Queen's proclamation has taken control of the India through the government of the entire Indian subcontinent. It has come under the rule of the Queen's rule, right? So after that, they have tried to take the control of the Indian Indian territory, and they have tried to rule this country. And after that, what they have done in this regard, and these people, these moderates, they have tried to establish one organization. They were not satisfied, but somehow they wanted to bring more changes in the society. So for that purpose, they have established the Indian National Congress. Evo Hume, Alan Octavian Hume, he was the founding member, and that person, along with some other intellectuals in the India, they have formed together and formed this Indian National Congress. Right. So these people, they have tried. They were very much fond of the British government, but their method of appeasing the British government was prayers and petitions. Right. So prayers and petitions. This is the main emphasis of this moderates. So, for example, who are these moderates? Dadabhai Naoroji and Surendranath Banerjee and some other people. They come under the moderates. Okay. So these people, they were very much admiring the British administration and all the kinds of scientific temper, the trade and many other developments which had taken place in the India is because they have started enjoying the liberty, and they don't want to lose that at any cost. So for that purpose, these people, they have tried to they don't want the entire restructuring of the present administration, that is the Crown's rule. Okay, they were pretty much satisfied with the Crown's administration. So they, if at all they wanted any changes, then they will try to pray the British government through their letters and through their petitions. Okay, by appeasing without hurting or without inviting the wrath of the British government, they wanted to bring the changes in that manner. Okay, that is why they are called moderates. That doesn't mean that they did not want any change, but they don't want to invite the unnecessary wrath of the British government, which was already fed up with the 1857 revolt, and they don't want they don't want to make unnecessary noise at that point of time. It was not right, the time was not yet right. Okay, that was the situation. And extremist phase. So when the things were going on like that, Bengal partition took place in the year 1905. So Bengal partition, many of these people, they were not happy with the Bengal partition. So what they have thought was, to avoid, to annul the, they wanted to annul the partition of the Bengal. This was the situation, and the extremists, there was a split in the Congress, and these people, they tried to, they were not happy with the methods of the moderates. Okay, they called these moderates as political mendicants. Who are the political mendicants? To put it in the simple manner, the people who are who develop a kind of fond or attachment towards their political position in the party are called political mendicants. So they were pretty unhappy with that kind of political mendicancy that was there, and they wanted to restructure the society. Okay, so they restructured the crown, and they wanted to boycott the British government and the British goods and all the kinds of administration and the education system, and they wanted the kind of native, they wanted to glorify the native culture, native education and everything. They were not entirely on the lines of the moderates. So here some kind of split has happened between the, and the triggering factor for this was, as I have already told you, the Bengal partition, which took place in the year 1905. Bengal partition, which took place in the year 1905. So the kind of split has ultimately, which has come into fruition in the year 1907. That is the Surat session of the Congress. So this, there the split between the moderates and the extremists have taken place. Okay, so as I have already told you, what are the methods? So what kind of methods are to be followed? This led to the differences between the moderates and the extremists. Fine. So what are the methods? So these people, they wanted to boycott the British goods, government colleges, British goods, government colleges, and all the kinds of all the kinds of British government servants. They were not happy with that, and they wanted to boycott these things. And what else do they want to do? So they wanted to encourage the native religion and culture. The second one is, they wanted to encourage the native religion and culture. So they wanted to encourage that particular task. Okay, and one more important thing is, they have advocated for the passive resistance. So this thing was advocated by Mr. Aurobindo Ghosh. So there is a difference, if from the UPSC point of view, there is a difference between the passive resistance and the Satyagraha. It was advocated by Mr. M.K. Gandhi, Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi. So he advocated Satyagraha. We have also discussed about that in the third semester, Indian political thought. Right. So we have discussed, while discussing the Gandhi Swaraj, we have had a discussion on that. So to put it simply, let us recapitulate that kind of episode. So passive resistance means it was, it was advocated by Aurobindo Ghosh. So what he wanted to say was, initially they also wanted to protest in a peaceful manner. If at all the political opponents, that is the colonial rulers, if they tried to suppress this movement with the violent methods, he also advocated for the equal and opposite. It's like, to put it simply, it's like the Newton's fourth law. Every action has equal and opposite reaction. In that manner only, they also wanted to oppose that kind of methods. Okay, equally, and in an equally violent way, they also wanted to retaliate the opponent. Okay, that was the pretty, fundamental crux of the argument of this passive resistance. On the other hand, Satyagraha, it is totally different. Even if the opponent tries to violently attack you and violently condemn you, you have to love that person wholeheartedly. Okay, there is no ifs and buts. Okay, you are not supposed to take the sides. You have to be wholeheartedly non-violent at all the times. Okay, that is the fundamental difference between the passive resistance and the satyagraha. You be careful with this thing. And what is the other method which these people have argued for? And moreover, these people, they wanted to boycott all the legislative bodies and all the kinds of more rigorous kinds of boycott of the British and British to put it out in the open, and the British all the kinds of ill treatments and the ill effects. They wanted to publicize the ill effects of the British colonial rule. They wanted to make that thing, put it out in the open. That is the fundamental argument of the extremists. So, in this regard, these people, the Home Rule movement has also taken place. Okay, during this period, Home Rule movement and the Congress Muslim League Pact. So, this is one of the historical blunder of the Indian National Congress. Okay, which has taken place in the year 1916. So, ideologically, the Muslim League and its kind of ideology was entirely focusing on the interests, safeguarding and securing the interests of the Muslims. So, these people, they did not have any kind of nationalist kind of orientation. All they wanted to do was they wanted to protect their community interests. So, this was the historical blunder. Always the minority appeasement has taken place throughout the history, and which has ultimately the kind of price which they were about to pay can be seen in the coming 2 decades after the after this freedom phase. Okay, freedom struggle. Especially it has ultimately resulted in the India-Pakistan partition. Okay, when you are not ideologically bound to that party, when you try to make the pact with these people, definitely you are going to experience that. And the Indian National Congress has experienced the taste of this thing. Okay, so at that point of time, the Home Rule League movement, it was led by the Annie Besant and Tilak, and they have opened their centers across the 2 major centers were there. One is at Madras, the Theosophical Society. This was taken care by Annie Besant. She is an Irish woman, and they have drawn their inspiration from the Irish freedom movement. How the fundamental crux was they wanted to protect the native culture and the native. They wanted to they have given the impetus to the national self-determination to the local language and the culture. In the similar manner, these people, they have drawn the inspiration from the Irish freedom struggle, and they have tried to protect the native culture and glorify the Indian culture at that point of time. So, the one was, and the other one was at the Pune, which was headed by Tilak. So he has tried to organize the Shivaji festivals and the current Ganesh Chaturthi festivals by organizing the pandals and everything. This all of that has been laid ground by the Mr. Tilak during a century back. Okay, it is not even after the independence we have continued that tradition. Even today we are celebrating the Shivaji festivals and the Ganesh Chaturthi festivals. It has spread across India. So basically, the fundamental idea of this, Home Rule League movement was they wanted to gather the people. Okay, to gather the public support, they wanted to conduct all these kinds of, movements. Okay, so ultimately, these people they had some objectives. Okay, they wanted the self-determination by the British. When the immediate, soon after this movement has started, the British has announced the national self-determination will be recognized, and the British government will be going to take the measures in favor of this thing. Okay, so immediately after that, this movement was disbanded. After that announcement was made, and any reason that everyone has taken their paths and they have parted their ways, and this movement went into oblivion. That was the thing which has happened. And another thing which you can observe is I think so we are clear up to this point, and let us now look at the Gandhian phase. So this Gandhian phase, Gandhi initially he has tried to, initially he came to India in the year 1915. He came back from South Africa. He was pretty much successful by his new and innovative methods of conducting the democratic struggle and against the racial apartheid, which was pretty much prevalent. And he was also an inspirational figure to the Nelson Mandela, which most of us are aware of that. Right. So let us try to understand what kind of significant impact this Gandhi, Mr. Gandhi has played in the Indian national movement. Okay. So majorly he has tried to conduct the non-cooperation movement through the Satyagraha. Satyagraha and non-violence are the fundamental core principles of Mr. Gandhi, and he wanted to achieve the Swaraj as his main ideal, and he wanted to achieve that even in the independent India. That was the Ambedkar Gandhi debate, and which we will be coming across in the future sessions of the videos. Okay. Now let us try to stick on to the what does the Gandhian phase has been characterized by, and let us try to, as this is not entirely history class, we are just trying to have the overview of the Indian national movement. So Mr. Gandhi, he has tried to start the non-cooperation movement, and then after that civil disobedience movement. And Quit India movement. These are the major struggles, where Gandhi has tried to, strengthen his foothold in the Indian national movement. Okay, this was the pretty much important thing. These are the important movements where the Gandhi has tried to do. So the non-cooperation movement, it was entirely non-cooperating with the British colonial government, and he wanted to boycott that through the Satyagraha method. Okay, you have to follow the completely non-violence, and you have, here you will not be hating your opponent. Keep that thing in mind before jumping into the conclusions. So you have to stick to the truth, which is higher than everything else. Okay, Gandhi has given importance to the truth, so the truth will be victorious once, one time or the other. That's what Mr. Gandhi has believed. So, non-cooperation movement, in that citizens, he also, during this time, he has brought the women's participation across the country on a wide scale. Okay, because of one incident, that is the Chori Chora incident, which has taken place in the year 1922. Because of that, he has called off this movement. Okay, many of the leaders which participated in the non-cooperation movement, and along the sides of this non-cooperation movement, Khilafat movement. Yeah, after the First World War, the Turkey was on the side of the losing side. So at that point of time, he wanted to, these people, though the victors, they wanted to impose some punishing terms. They have removed the caliphate, and which was somewhat sentimental to the Muslims of this country. So he has gone for the, Gandhi has called for the Khilafat movement at that point of time. These were some of the important annals of the Indian national movement. Right. So the Khilafat movement, the non-cooperation movement. It was, people has violently retaliated in the Chauri Chora incident, where unarmed people were the custodial death of the villagers in a small village called Chauri Chora, and then the villagers in the rage of anger, they wanted to display their rage, and they have burned the police station along with 22 people. So the British government will take it as an excuse and will try to suppress this movement mercilessly. So he wanted to avoid. It was a principle of it was sticking to the principle that he has called of this movement. And civil disobedience movement. This movement, it was taken place in the year 1930s, and during in between period, Gandhi has called for the Swaraj Party and the establishment of the Swaraj Party. Everything can be observed during this period, and he has called for the emphasis on the constructive work. Right. So in the coming videos, we'll be discussing about these things. Let us now try to have the brief overview of this Gandhian phase. So he has drawn the inspiration from the works of Mr. Henry David Thoreau. He's an American philosopher, and he wanted to violate the civil laws which were made by the British government at that point of time as a symbol of resistance and the colonial exploitation. He wanted to display that. Ultimately, he has called for the Quit India movement. Okay. So after that, we can observe some other phases. So across all these phases, but there is a clear difference with respect to Mr. Gandhi's behavior, especially regarding to the sticking to the principle of satyagraha. During this period, one small incident has made him to entirely withdraw the entire movement. During this period, these satyagrahis, they have followed the principle of passive resistance. As a matter of fact, when the concrete proofs were presented in front of Gandhi has tried to justify the violence committed by Britishers is far more graver than the violence committed by these Indian citizens. That is what the kind of justification. If at all, certain incidents without proofs were put before Mr. Gandhi will try to say that we have not come across that incident, and it has not come to our notice. So he has tried to. So ultimately, this kind of precedent is followed by our current politicians in most of the times. So here we have covered the three phases of the Indian national movement, according to historian Ramesh Chandra. Thank you.